A history lesson as well. I'll get a quick history lesson. And my background is not in agricultural science, and my family background is in farming. But most of my career I spent in corporate. So I always had a desire to farm. Did my work experience in a stock rotation agent, and that's where I was going, but it wasn't to be. But our farming practices from our family farm, when I think back now with what I know about regenerative agriculture, we're based in the same stuff. There's a lot of stuff that Rob was talking about, spelling paddocks, rotational grazing, even the cool burns, like we were Victorian based, so even in East Gippsland. So yeah, Dad was still burning in the 60s and 70s. So that's sort of where I've come from. So I'm more observational and on the ground than scientifically based, although we run heaps of field trials and stuff at our place as well and try and get as much science into them as we can. But our journey really began when I decided to get out of the corporate life forever and to go into full-time farming. We run blueberries. We don't run blueberries, we grow blueberries. We grow garlic, and we run a beef breeding herd. So we've had the beef breeding herd forever. And now, when we went down the blueberry path, the scale that we're operating at, we're not an enormous scale. So in order to make sure that we were profitable in that regard, we wanted to target the premium end of the market. So what's the premium end of the market? Well, that's with certified organic. So very early on in the process, back in 2014, we got ourselves certified for our horticulture paddock, where we grow the blueberries and everything else. And only a few years into that, that's all the organic certification process means, no synthetic fertilizers, no synthetic pesticides, no synthetic weedicides, and after a few years of running that way, it was obvious that paddock was doing better than the rest of the farm. So I looked at going, well, perhaps we can make the whole farm certified organic, and it's just like, why would I want to do that? But I'm not going to get paid a premium for my certified organic beef. And in Victoria, I don't see a solution for worming cattle that will meet the certified organic standards. And we front 2 council roads and a Melbourne Water Reserve. So on 3 sides. So blackberry ingression into our place is pretty good. So I'm already on manual removal of blackberries in the blueberry area, but I wasn't going to take that on for the other 90 odd acres. So it's spot spraying blackberries is also not going to keep me certified, and I have no desire to cut them out by hand. So looking at the way our blueberry paddock was working, you could go out in the mornings and see a mist hanging over the blueberries, and there was obviously a microclimate happening down there. Our soil pH was changing over the years, and fertility wasn't a problem. Our crops were coming off well and everything. And so well, there's lots going on here. How do I do something else with the rest of the place? And that's where I had a chance meeting with Charles Massey, and then went along to a session that Peter Ronalds organised for Charles Massey speaking, and I went. And I think he talked about some of the savoury stuff in Africa that he did, and how they rebuilt whole environments in Africa using a regenerative form of agriculture. So it was about seeding and intensely grazing, and then leaving it for long cycles. And I went, well, they turned what was desert back in Africa into a more productive landscape, a healthier landscape. And I thought, well, that's the path I'll go for the rest of the farm. So that's what got us our start. So So we were never using synthetic fertilisers out there. We were only using chook poo and lime and so on, because not something that Dad did, and not something that my grandfather did either. So it was a simple step to try and put a framework around some of the stuff we were doing out there, and that's what I see regenerative agriculture as a framework that pulls together a lot of stuff that we all know anyway. There's nothing new in regenerative agriculture. It's a framework that actually puts it together. And I like Declan's five principles, because it actually covers everything, and it gives you a holistic picture of how you run the farm. And so I tried to look at all the areas, and we've gone down a multi-species path, and I've had some disasters, I've had some massive successes, and I've had some not bads. So the multi-species stuff is trying to build my soil and build my productivity, and so I'll stop talking too. But just as a quick synopsis of, I had a paddock, our paddock 6. We do a cow-calf breeding herd, 40 cows, 40 calves. I could get maybe 2 weeks grazing out of that paddock under my old system. And that was it for the year. That's all I get out of that paddock. I put a very successful multi-species crop in there. I got 26 days of strip grazing out of that paddock, locked it up for 2 months, went back down to see what was going on down there. I had ryegrass 2 feet high and red clover all through. That was in the original multi-species bits. Came through again. The cows are back in there again. I've already got probably 40 days of grazing, and that's only year 1 in that paddock. So I'm going in with some more stuff shortly, but it's when I actually did Peter Ronalds and WGPA's Regen Ag course, and my Regen Ag plan coming out of that was to fill my feed gap. So I didn't expect to fill it in year 1, and I haven't, but normal feed cycle for us, we get to the end of spring, we get to late summer, we've run out of feed, so we start putting out silage, we start putting out hay, and we're feeding from now through till we get our spring growth. I haven't had to feed out anything. I am feeding out because the cows are calving, but that's by choice, just to give them a bit of extra stuff. And so that little wedge in there has really made a huge difference to closing my feed gap. I haven't closed it yet. I will close it, but it's like Rob was saying, it's working.
Thanks, Tommy. Look, one of the questions